The game focuses on Isaac and his religious mother, who one day, following the voice of God that tells her Isaac is corrupted by evil, strips him of all the things that might be the cause for his corruption and locks him up in his room. However, that doesn't seem enough, and in the end God tells her to prove her faith by killing Isaac. Isaac, however, manages to escape into the basement, which is inhabited by various creatures and other monstrosities. Why? That sadly is never explained, and even the game's epilogue does not give any viable explanation. The story does not serve any more purpose than to show why Isaac ended up in a hellhole. In between stages, there are short cutscenes presenting Isaac's memories of him being abused and mistreated, which again serve no purpose other than to introduce a short break in the gameplay and maybe to give an explanation why Isaac is crying all the time. The game has an interesting cartoonish style. All the cutscenes are presented as child drawings, and similar look is employed in the menus, which change each time you access a given menu option. The locations and characters are cartoonish as well, very detailed with smooth animation. Despite this style, however, the game is dark and may be often very disturbing. The areas change during fights, as some monsters leave blood trails and mess up the place with other liquids and stuff. Each explored area has its own music style. It will also change in special rooms and during boss fights. The game also features some very dramatic narration in both the intro and the epilogue.
A voice from above. Your son has become corrupted by sin. He needs to be saved. I will do my best to save him.
The Binding of Isaac follows the style of the Legend of Zelda games with its overhead view interface and dungeon exploration theme. You've got a minimap that shows you uncovered rooms, 2 item slots which hold primary weapon and secondary item, and even the heart counter is similar, starting with 3 hearts at the beginning of the game. Each heart is worth 2 hit points. The dungeons are randomly generated, and that also goes for the items, the monsters and the bosses. This makes the game very non-linear, as each time you play, you will get to see and encounter something new. Each area type has a number of possible bosses you will fight, but they will become repetitive after a while. The boss rooms tend to change as well. Sometimes they will be clear, and sometimes filled with rocks and other obstacles if you encounter the given boss at a later level. Within the dungeons, you will find treasure rooms that will hold a special upgrade, shops that you need to open with a key which will have usable items or health power-ups for you to buy, and challenge rooms that will force you to fight waves of enemies for an item or upgrade. You may also come across an arcade that hosts few minigames which you play to win coins or some items. You may also exchange HP for more coins. Items can also be found in chests that are scattered across the dungeons, but you require keys to open some of them. The items vary from general stats upgrades to primary weapon upgrades, which not only change the attack strength and features, but may change the attack mechanics as well. One item lets you charge the attack by holding down the fire button, for instance. Secondary items, of which you may hold only one at a time, always take some time to recharge after using. There are also additional special items which are single-use only. Items are often references to stuff from other media, like pills here inspired by Left 4 Dead games, a unicorn horn that is a reference to My Little Pony. There are even some references to popular memes, like the Shoop the Whoop. Most of the items change the look of Isaac, and they can be stacked together. Therefore, by the end of the game, he may look nothing like an innocent child anymore. With some items, he may turn into a monster or even a demon. Particular items come in different varieties, and you may never know what will happen after using them. Take the tarot cards, for instance, which may give you things on some occasions, on others being completely useless. A good example would be a battle, when you expect something offensive of a card, but it teleports you into a random room or even harms you instead. Same goes for the pills that, depending on the color, may either turn out to be beneficial in some way or turn things for worse. However, while you can read about the cards and memorize their characteristics, pills change their properties with each game. Some items make the game very easy, like the shovel that allows you to skip to the next level, or a special mushroom most likely inspired by the Mario games that makes you bigger, or a dead cat that makes you immune to death. If you die in a given room, it respawns you before it. Remember though that it's not infinite and it takes away all your hearts except for one. The random layout of dungeons can cause you to find boss rooms just one space away from each other, but it always seems to be a good idea to explore, not only for items but also for various secrets which can be then viewed in the menu. You can also unlock other playable characters, all of which are notable figures from the Bible. These characters differ in both their looks and their beginning stats. For instance, Eve is faster than Isaac but weaker in both attack and HP. She also comes with special items. A dead bird helps her attack enemies, and a curse transforms her into a demon one near death. There is a wide variety of enemy types, some of which have two possible forms. Just when you think you've got that one bugger, he still gets up and tries to do you harm. The attack styles for most enemies are similar though. And the same goes for the bosses. Different looks but same attack ways. Still, there is a huge variety of them, and you may also encounter mini-bosses like 7 Sins. One of which looks like the Bomberman and has a similar attack. In addition, there are demons which can appear in special rooms after a boss fight. Most bosses don't require any strategy to beat, just avoid their projectiles and shoot till they drop dead. Still, when you encounter a boss for the first time, his attack and movement patterns can surprise you and cause you to lose, if not the whole battle, then at least large amounts of health. The game has no save feature, It saves what you collect, but you can't save the game's progress, and whenever you die you need to start from the beginning. This makes the game extremely difficult, because the randomly generated levels may not give you any good power-ups at the beginning, while forcing you to fight difficult bosses. Also, any given room's layout may change, affecting the conditions of fighting the boss, since for example some enemies may attack you over the rocks which block your attack. The game is pretty unbalanced, and while the first two levels are generally easy, as you might run into empty rooms with no enemies or single enemies with an easy layout, the third and later levels are extremely hard, and the game is very stingy with giving hearts. Some of the enemies are very difficult to fight, while some may be easily killed due to a bug. There are even adversaries that are plainly too difficult to beat, as they don't seem to follow any logical patterns, and this makes you believe they are simply bugged. On the one hand, The Binding of Isaac has a huge replayability factor with tons of stuff to find and unlock, which will encourage you to come back again and again. At the same time, the game is very unforgiving of any mistakes that will make you die numerously till you reach the end boss, if you manage to do it at all. This high difficulty level will surely leave most gamers frustrated. The game also suffers a bit from being somewhat repetitive if you play it for several hours straight, although the new items and weapon upgrades will keep it fresh for a while before that happens. While we had fun with Binding of Isaac, as it reminded us of old good Zelda, and exploring the new possibilities that items and weapons give was fun as well, we cannot give it more than 3 out of 5 cubes because of its very high difficulty and frustration factor.
The never-ending tale.